Kelsey. This is my channel, The Fancy Hat Lady Reads. This is undeniably my Halloween video. Look at the vibes, look at the hat, look at my pumpkin. I'm very proud of it this year. However, despite all the atmosphere, it's not actually a Halloween-themed video. This is just a normal book haul because I desperately need to film one of these because I haven't filmed one since May. This is a 5-month book haul. I have 3 stacks of books to show you here. 1 stack of new books and 2 stacks of used books. So let's get started with the new books. There are 3 of these, I think, that I have already read. So I think the one I'm going to show you first is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I gave my thoughts on this in my last video, which was my wrap-up and ranking of this year's Best Novel Hugo Award finalists. This is one that I am sort of sad that I ended up reading in that context because I didn't think this was an award-worthy book, but if I hadn't gone into it with any of those expectations, I think I might have liked it more. So the next 2 books I'm going to show you are also my 2 favorite new books that I've read this year. They are my 2 5-star reads of the year so far. They were both books that I read e-arcs of from NetGalley and then decided I needed to own a physical copy. The first of these is Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I have a full review of this on my channel. I can link it for you in the description. I paired it in a double review with The Magician's Daughter by H.G. Perry. I loved this and I have pre-ordered the sequel, which is coming out in January. And then my second book here is one that I haven't actually posted my review of yet, although I still intend to because I do want to pair it in a double review with something, but I don't really have that second review to pair it with yet. And that is The Last Dragoners of Bowbazar by Indra. This is from Subterranean Press. This is the limited signed edition. And were still copies of this available online from Subterranean Press's website last I checked. So I just want to take a moment to hype this book up a bit because it was one of my 2 new 5-star reads that I've had this year so far. My 3rd 5-star read of the year has been a reread. And I will be heartbroken if this novella does not end up on awards shortlists next year because it totally deserves it. So if you nominate for SFF Awards, I encourage you to read this so that you don't break my heart. The next 2 books I have here were the 2 that I placed in one online bookstore order along with my copy of Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Fairies, which I've already shown you. These I actually they arrived just after I had filmed my last book haul, that November through May book haul. So these technically still did arrive at the end of May. I'm still calling this my June through October book haul. I'm not changing that. But because I loved Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Fairies so much, I also ordered The School Between Winter and Fairyland, also by Heather Fawcett, which I think is one of her middle grade novels, as well as Bitter Medicine by Tsai. This was an early 2023 release that has me very curious. Next, 3 more new books, all purchased from different places. First, Moira's Pen by Megan Whalen Turner. This is the Queen's Thief short story collection. Need I say any more? The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I bounced off of the very beginning of this author's debut novel, The Vanished Birds. That was science fiction, this was fantasy, and I started hearing glowing reviews for this book just in the last few months, I feel like. I feel like it took a while for me to start seeing reviews of this book. It came out last year. And this is supposed to have a story within a story narrative structure at some point. People are saying this was totally snubbed for awards. So I did wait until it was out in paperback to buy it, but now it is, and I am very, very curious. And then the last of the new books I have here is also the most recent in terms of most recently purchased and most recently released, and that is A Fire Born of Exile by Aliette de Bodard, which is her second Julia Universe science fiction romance novel. These in the US are only available in print from Amazon, so this is like the only time that I will ever purchase a book from Amazon. Usually I will buy them from like other bookstores, but this is something that I'm definitely hoping to read sooner rather than later. So next I have two separate stacks of used books. The first is a stack of used books that I bought all at one bookstore. I went book shopping in Oregon over the summer when I did like a multi-state trip where I visited people in 3 different states. In Oregon, I went to one bookstore with an amazing sci-fi fantasy section that had both new and used books. I bought a stack of used books, and then I had to haul them in my suitcase to Seattle and then back to New York, but it was worth it. First up are these 2 mass market paperbacks, both by Tanith Lee. The first is Death's Master. This is the second book in, what is this series called? Tales from the Flat Earth. I have the first one, where is it? In this same edition. Where is it? Ah, it's on the special shelf up here. Okay, so I have Night's Master, the first book, in the same edition as this one. These are newer-ish editions of these books. The second one is like significantly chunkier than the first. And then the second Tanith Lee book is one that I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit I bought more because of the cover art than because the book itself sounds interesting, and that is The Silver Metal Lover. This is a book that has cover art by Kanuko Y. Craft. If it has a Kanuko Y. Craft cover, I sometimes just buy it. But this is also a book that has like a shockingly high average Goodreads rating, given how absolutely like silly ridiculous the premise of the book sounds. This is sci-fi, and it is about a teenage girl who like falls in love with a robot minstrel. It sounds a little bit ridiculous. I just realized I should be holding up the books on the other side so that you can admire my pumpkin. I want you to be admiring my pumpkin. This book sounds a little bit ridiculous, but nevertheless, I am intrigued. Next is Provenance by Ann Leckie. This is, oh, I guess if I hold the book here and I lean over, my hat's in the way of the pumpkin. There's no winning. No winning whatsoever. Here we go. This works. This is Provenance by Ann Leckie, which is the first of now 2 standalone sci-fi novels in the Imperial Rat universe. I still have one more book to read in the main trilogy, but then I do want to read this one as well as Translation State. At the Mouth of the River of Bees by Kij Johnson is a short story collection that's been on my Goodreads TBR for like almost as long as I've had Goodreads. Literally, this is one of the books that has been on my TBR the longest. And yet, I never bought it. I always sort of imagined that I would get it from the library, but I never actually end up placing holds on like older backlist books from the library. I usually end up just reserving fancy new things that I don't want to actually buy. So getting a used book price on this was just what I needed to actually purchase a copy. Next is a used copy of a newer release. This came out last year. This is When Women Were Dragons, an adult novel by Kelly Barnhill that features, I think, women just turning into dragons in the 1950s. Kelly Barnhill is an author whose books I keep buying and not reading. Someday I will actually read them. And then the last book I bought at that one wonderful bookstore used is this hardcover copy of Komarr by Lois McMaster Bujold, which is one of the Vorkosigan novels. I have slowly over the years been collecting the Vorkosigan books so that hopefully someday I will actually be able to do a read through of the series. This is one of the ones I was missing. And it's not the only Vorkosigan novel missing from this collection to show up in this book haul, because the first book in my stack of all the other used books I've bought in this time period is another one. This is Brothers in Arms. So I am now getting really close to having like a decently complete-ish Vorkosigan novel collection. I do need to do some sitting down with like comparing publication order and reading order and figuring out where the actual holes are that I still need to fill in order to start reading things in, you know, reading order. But I do think I am getting really close. Next on my last used books stack is The Grief of Stones by Katherine Addison. This is the second book in the spin-off series to The Goblin Emperor, which is called... This series has its own name, but I'm not seeing it anywhere else on the cover. This is the sequel to Witness for the Dead, which I've not yet read. I was obviously too embarrassed to do anything like pre-order the second book when I had not yet read the first, but I bought a used copy. Another 2022 release that I managed to find a used copy of, Siren Queen by Nghi. This is a book that I feel like so certain I will love, with all of its like vintage Hollywood fantasy magic stuff. I have heard such good things about this book, and it is very shiny in this type of mood lighting, isn't it? Next is the book that I probably should be reading for Halloween, because it would be the perfect like not spooky Halloween book, except I'm doing no new release-a-thon this month. So I'm not reading this. This is The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon. This is like cozy zombie fantasy romance novel. This is what I would be reading right now if I weren't doing my no new release-a-thon, read-a-thon thing, which I do not regret at all because it's been going great, but still. And then last but very, very, very much not least is this copy of Babel by R.F. Kuang, which is the UK paperback. And I found this at like a tiny hole-in-the-wall used bookstore where I almost never find anything I want to buy. And they had this, Victory. Anyways, that is my June through October 2023 book haul. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you have strong opinions about them. Anyhow, I hope you're having a very nice day and a super spooky Halloween. Or not spooky Halloween, if that's what you prefer. I sort of prefer a non-spooky Halloween. That is all. Bye for now.